Here is every Champions League campaign by Messi and Ronaldo, and who really performed better each time around. Let's roll on. Number 1, 2004-2005. Right, so since this is 04, I don't think it's a surprise on who will get the point here. So instead, here are a couple of random ass facts to fill the entry. Number 1, Messi only played one UCL game that season, making his debut in a 2-0 loss away at Shakhtar Donetsk, where he was marked out of the game by a bloke called Lewandowski. Guess that explains the daylight robbery 17 years later, haha! And 2, CR7 got 2 assists in the first group game against Lyon, something which Messi couldn't do in the UCL until Pep arrived. Fraud. Point. Ronaldo. Number 2, 2005-2006. Right, so this was the season Messi won the Champions League despite only playing 2 full games and not even featuring once after the second round. Great. Especially compared to what this bloke was up to, cause Jesus Christ. Bro, this Ronaldo UCL season is so overrated, it's unreal. And in case you're wondering, how can it be overrated if I've never heard anyone speak about it? Exactly! No one ever talks about how shit it was. So this helmet started every single game as United crashed out of the group stages. Only time in Ronaldo's career that's ever happened, by the way. And it wasn't just that, man. I'm sorry, but this guy has to take a lot of responsibility for how much of a flippin' Thornton he was being in the last game against Benfica, where United desperately needed a result. So what happened in the game? Well, after being absorbed by the boos from the Benfica fans, because you know, he used to be a sporting player, Ronaldo basically tried to shut the noise up by taking on everyone and win the game himself. Result, United lost the game 2-1, finishing bottom of their group. And just like that, an iffy UCL win looks more like Maradona 86. Point. Messi. Number 3, 2006-2007. Right, so if you ignore the single game in his debut season, this may have been Messi's worst UCL campaign. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still wasn't terrible, but something just didn't click. The Ronaldinho-Messi pairing isn't what you think it was, people. On the other hand, the 2006-2007 UCL campaign was Cristiano's first world-class one. He terrorized Benfica in what was very much revenge for the previous year. He terrorized Roma in a game where he opened his UCL account, and even got on the score sheet against Milan in the semis, and we were just getting started. Point. Ronaldo. Number 4, 2007-2008. Now this is actually a pretty underrated UCL campaign for Messi, because you see, before what seemed at the time like endless muscle problems returned around January-February time, the man was cooking in this competition. But even then, there still is no real competition here. Because yes, no matter how young you may be, you at least know of the CR7 season, don't you? The first of his 5 UCL wins, and best believe, at no point was he a fucking passenger. Starting by snatching a win away at Sporting, going on to do the same to Sporting at home as well as Roma away, and in the later stages put up 2 memorable displays against Barca as well as another world-class one against Chelsea in the final. Point. Ronaldo. Number 5, 2008-2009. Basically inverse of 07-08. An underrated UCL campaign for Ronaldo. He knocked out both Porto and Arsenal in the quarters and semis respectively, both with 40-yard strikes. But yes, ultimately there's no competition. Messi began the group stages on fire, got one of his very few good memories against Bayern in the knockouts, and ended it by taking Barcelona to the maiden treble. Point. Messi. Number 6, 2009-2010. In terms of individual performance, this was super close, if not a narrow victory to CR9. He ripped up every team he came up against despite playing through the middle, a position he was never really comfortable in playing, especially back then. But nah, because when all factors are considered, Leo takes this for 2 reasons. Number 1, he slapped Arsenal silly with 4 goals in 1 game. Bro, imagine doing that in a UCL knockout tie. And 2, Barca made it to the semis, while Real bowed out in the second round. And sorry, as much as you may hate to admit it, but that's always gonna matter somewhat. Point. Messi. Number 7, 2010-2011. No such competition here. This was Messi's greatest UCL campaign ever, and despite Barca not having the easiest route to glory, no matter who you put in front of him that season, including the 2 biggest clubs in the world, Leo just went through them like they couldn't even see him. Point. Messi. Number 8, 2011-2012. Christ, this was so much closer than I first anticipated. Because, you know, I was just under the impression that, well, it's Messi 2012, so obviously he wins everything. Not necessarily. Because I'm sorry, but CR7's positive performances meant a lot to his team that season, especially considering that he turned in set performances against teams like Ajax, Lyon and Bayern. However, one, Messi's stats are simply too much to ignore this season, even if he was a low-key big game goal star. But to be fair, he did score 5 in one game this time, and that too against Leverkusen. They aren't pushovers, bro. And two, Ronaldo missed a penalty that proved to be very costly in the end. And this is something else the fanboys may hesitate to admit, but that too matters. Point Messi. Number 9, 2012-2013. And we return to a no competition entry. Cause yep, it was just one of those seasons where CR7 was basically a one-man team, standing out easily as the best player in one of the toughest UCL groups ever, coming clutch against United in both legs of the knockouts, and even when Real were knocked out in the semis, he still delivered, as he did in pretty much every competition that season. Super underrated this, I mean by me more than anyone else. I may need to rethink my top 7 versions list. Point Ronaldo. Number 10, 2013-2014. A season where Messi began the UCL campaign with a hat-trick and then went on to destroy both Man City and AC Milan in 2 games each, is still a distant second here. That should tell you what CR7 was that season, putting up the record for most goals in a single UCL campaign, annihilating any and every team, most of them in style, and finally taking Real to that long elusive La Decima. The floodgates, or rather the ketchup bottle as he likes to say, have now well and truly been opened. Point Ronaldo. Number 11, 2014-2015. Brilliant campaigns for both here, Ronnie doing his usual stuff by dragging Real through knockout ties against Schalke and Atletico, while Messi began the season by temporarily breaking the goal scoring record, before then going on to destroy Ajax, play with Man City, embarrass Jerome Boateng, and even put up a pretty underrated performance in the UCL final against Juve. So as you can tell, while they were both great, there's still one clear winner here. Point Messi. Number 12, 2015-2016. One of the more underwhelming UCL campaigns by Messi here. I mean, it's not his fault that he missed part of the group stages due to an injury he picked up in a La Liga game in September, but even when he came back, he didn't really shake up Europe. But you know who did? Yep, starting with breaking the group stage goal scoring record, going on to dump Roma out with a world-class display away from home and a clutch display at home, before of course the iconic night against Wolfsburg, scoring a hat-trick to turn the first leg deficit and now making La Undecima an eventual reality. Point Ronaldo. Number 13, 2016-2017. Right, so I actually feel sorry for Messi here, because I don't know if you remember, but this man was tearing the group stages apart that season. And no lie, he could have plausibly broken the record set by Ronaldo the previous season if he didn't miss one of the games through injury. Eventually though, he couldn't continue his rich vein of form because, as MSN had a low-key habit of doing, they were demolished in Europe, this time by PSG and Juventus. As for Ronaldo, well, not much to say. This was his greatest UCL campaign ever. This was his greatest string of big game performances ever. This was the season where he cemented his place as the face of the European game. This was the season he became Mr. Champions League. Point Ronaldo. Number 14, 2017-2018. Another case of Messi's brilliant balling being broken early by Barca basically being a bit basic when battling the big boys around this time, suffering a humiliation loss this time at the hands of Roma. Though big up to Leo for slapping a brace against Juve and getting his revenge for the previous year though. But yeah, obviously, because speaking of slapping a brace against Juve that campaign, this was again Ronnie's year, scoring in every single group stage game, taking out PSG mainly on his own, as well as those iconic displays against his future home. How he didn't win the Ballon d'Or that year is still genuinely a f***ing mystery. Point Ronaldo. Number 15, 2018-2019. An overrated but fantastic Messi season and an underrated but fantastic Ronaldo season realistically meet somewhere in the middle. Messi ran riot in the group stages, slapped United around and put up a really good display against Liverpool in the home game of the semis, but also he missed a crucial double tie against Inter in the group stages through injury. Not his fault, but facts are he didn't play in Barca's 2 toughest games in Europe up until the semis. Not to mention he was distinctly average in the second leg of of the semis as Barca suffered yet another humiliation in Europe. On the other hand, Ronaldo began the year by basically humiliating himself after bursting into tears following a red card against Valencia. I mean, yeah, it was the wrong decision, but man up, mate, you got like 43 kids. But he then slowly grew into his role at Juve, put up very good showings against Valencia, United again, as well as in both legs against Ajax in the quarters, as well as a stellar wingers display in the first leg against Atletico, which gets overlooked due to the result, which itself ultimately didn't matter due to his actions in the second leg against Atletico, which itself has now become one of Mr. Champions League's iconic performances in the competition. Point tie. Number 16, 2019-2020. If we take an average of both their performances, this season was the worst in quite a while. Barca were in a pretty dark phase around this time, and as I've said before, there was little Messi did that made more than little difference. And before being part of yet another and probably the biggest humiliation of his career, he did manage to score one of the goals of his career against Napoli, so fair enough. And as far as Ronaldo, well, he could have scored one of the goals of his career against Atletico. Well, Christ, if this went in, it would have still been talked about today, I guarantee that. What he did manage to do though is continue to turn up, continue to grind it out, as Juve turned in quite a below par showing in Europe that year. Point tie. Number 17, 2020-2021. And after quite a while, 10 years if I'm not wrong, we had a Messi-Ronaldo head-to-head clash in the competition. And well, the performances in that game was pretty reflective of their overall performances in Europe that campaign. Messi trying his utmost best to make anything happen with the largely underperforming supporting cast he had with him around this time, and Ronaldo finding a way to leave his mark on the game with the largely aging supporting cast he had with him around this time, with CR7 eventually winning out. Point Ronaldo. Number 18, 2021-2022. The second season in a row where both GOATs made last 16 exits. Though this time for a change, it wasn't even remotely close as far as who was better. Like, don't get me wrong, while Messi's goal as well as his performance in the home game against City was sweet, he simply paled in comparison to a returning CR7 who scored in every single group stage game he played, dragging United through multiple ties including 2 in injury time, taking them to their first place finish in the UCL groups for the first time in half a decade. Point Ronaldo. Bonus round, Messi 2022-2023 versus Ronaldo 2003-2004. They were the leftover campaigns, so why not pit them against each other? So, Messi in 22-23 actually slapped in 8 goal contributions in the group stages. I'm granted 6 of them were against Maccabi Haifa, but still, I mean, it was still more than what Ronaldo did in 03-04, which is not much, mostly warming the bench, get some minutes here and there, and end it by walking off hurt. And look, before you tell me, I realize it's a tad unfair pitting an 18-year-old against a seasoned veteran. And yes, believe you me, I realize the reaction I'd have gotten from Messi fanboys if I pitted an 18-year-old version of him against an older Ronaldo. But again, they were the leftovers and I just found it wrong to simply have them left over. Point Messi. Final score, Messi 9, Ronaldo 12. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. Once again, don't forget to like, comment and share, and of course subscribe. Till next time, you keep rolling.